Hi, this is Pat Johnson, your sociology instructor. In this mini lecture, we're going to talk about our third type of social stratification. We're going to talk about the class system of social stratification, which is what we have in the United States. The first thing you need to know about the class system of social stratification is that there is social mobility. So there's still a hierarchy, there's still people on top, there are still people beneath, and there are people on the bottom. But there is social mobility, or at least the ability of social mobility in a class system of social stratification. There are 5 basic divisions in our class society that stratify people. In other words, it is about money, but it's not only about money that stratifies people in a class society. Let's take a look. The first way that we can stratify people in a class society, in other words, have some people on top, some people in the middle, and some people on the bottom, is by income. And income just means the money you receive from wages or salaries and any investment income that you have. So for example, I'm happy today, the day I'm making this video, because it's payday. The college I work for pays us once a month, so at the end of every month, I get my paycheck deposited into my bank account. That is part of my income. But I also have investments, both in my 401k and other investments, and that money earns money also. That to me is the best kind of earnings, is when I don't have to work for it. It's just dollars going out and getting other dollars. All of that, my salary plus my income from my investments, equals my total income. We can also think about wealth as a way that stratifies people in a class society. Wealth is just your assets minus your liabilities. Assets includes all of the money that you have and any other thing that is of worth. So if you have a car, if you have a home, if you have a motorcycle, if you have jewelry, if you have anything that is of value, that is considered an asset. Then to determine your wealth, we have to subtract any debt that you have. So if you have student loans that you must pay back, if you have a mortgage on a house that you've bought, if you have car payments or boat payments or credit card debt, all of that is diminishing from your total wealth, because it's assets minus debt that indicates somebody's wealth. So just because somebody has a big house and a fancy car, they may not have any wealth at all, because they may have more debt than they have assets. And so I often see this in people I know who live very fancy lives, that they actually have negative wealth because they have so much debt. On the second level here, you see assets minus zero. If a person is debt-free, in other words, they don't owe any credit card debt, they don't have a mortgage, they don't have a car payment, they don't have any debt at all, their wealth is just their assets. So this, at least in my opinion, and you may not agree, is a better scenario, because all of that debt is not diminishing that person's wealth. Another way that we can stratify people in our society is by looking at their education. Education is one of the strongest predictors of social class later in life. But I added to that you need to be smart about it. Just getting a college degree is better than no degree and quitting, unless of course you have a lot of debt and you can't get a job. But there are some degrees that are much more valuable in our society than others. This clip clip art, or this graphic clip is from Forbes magazine, and it is showing in 2015 which bachelor's degrees earn the highest in our country, with engineering being pretty much at the top in most cases. When I have students say that they want to major in psychology, like I did, or sociology, which I also have education in and teach, such as in this class, internally I cringe a little because I know that those degrees aren't going to give the person as many rewards, at least financially, as if the student had decided to major in a STEM, science, technology, or engineering and mathematics type program. Education is one of the ways that we are stratified in our society. We can also look at the occupation and the occupational prestige. In other words, some occupations are looked on as being much higher class than others, with usually doctors and lawyers heading towards the top, and other trades being at the bottom. This chart is from your textbook. You can take a closer look at it. It's table 8.1 in your textbook, and you can see that physician tops the list, where other laborer type jobs are more towards the bottom. Lifestyle and consumption patterns are also indicators of social standing in a class society. So we see on the left a gentleman with a fancy glass of wine, the guy in the middle having, it looks like maybe a martini, and the guy on the right having an aluminum can of his beverage. And many people would look at this and say the guy on the left has a much classier lifestyle than the guy on the right. My concern is that we shouldn't necessarily judge people based on their consumption patterns. And also, it concerns me greatly when I have students with very fancy consumption patterns of spending when they don't have the wealth to back it up, and they put themselves in debt. Again, this is my value system. It may not be yours, but we certainly judge people in our society based on their lifestyle and the stuff that they buy, the stuff they drive, their phones they have, the clothes they wear, what they consume. All of this is a way that we are stratified in our society. So in this mini lecture, we've looked at different ways that people are classified in a class system of social stratification, be it income or wealth or prestige or education or lifestyle. So think about what you grew up with on the class system, and where you are currently, and if it's one of your goals, which it may or may not be, if you want upward social mobility, where you would like to land in this class system of social stratification in our country.